Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drag Queen Gaming to something mounts one of the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Conway, Julian's Path. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up and let's go. Alrighty. Each of them looking about as miserable as you, thoroughly soaked, their clothes clinging to them and their fur hanging limp and sodden from their bodies. It doesn't take long before the whole area is one big puddle, spreading steadily across the deck, as if the ship didn't smell bad enough already. Some crew members immediately strip off their shirts, while others prefer to at least try and wring out the water that is soaked into their clothes. Boots are emptied if they wear any, and furs and hair are tidied. The lanterns are rekindled as the sun struggles to illuminate the outside world, let alone the interior, through the heavy cloud cover. You think you can hear snippets of conversation among them, discussing the sudden change in weather, how they were rudely awakened just as they had fallen asleep. It's hard not to be weighed down by every comment. Even though nothing happened, you still caused all their discomfort. You forced them in a position where they had to put themselves in danger. All of them. Samuel is the first to make it down the stairs, followed by Wolf, Torres, and Julian, each of them going through the similar ritual of trying to dry themselves as best they can during a storm at sea. As time progresses, the crowd gradually disperses. Each individual turns their attention back to their tasks, or takes a moment to recover from the exhausting ordeal of hastily reefing the sails. What was once the loud, noisy tumble of the sudden call for all hands on deck returns to a more familiar jumble of noises. The patter of rain and footsteps resonate through the planks above. Heavy waves crash against the hull, providing a droning soundscape to allow you time to sink into your thoughts. What the hell are you going to do? There you are! Perce's nimble steps accompany his words as he approaches the table, gripping the rope that secures the table to overhead planks. He takes a moment to wipe some of the accumulating water from his brows. Wanted to tell you that you did alright out there. One's first time in bad weather is always a test for the nerves, but you did alright. I didn't see you on the mizzen. Did you sit that one out? Get your weight, rest against the ship's hull, or smile with a silent eye. Probably for the best. Things got quite rough towards the end, and Arthur probably wouldn't have appreciated seeing you up there if you weren't feeling up to it. I doubt he actually cares. He's a stickler for safety. I was bedridden, couldn't escape his lectures. So yes, he'd absolutely care if you did that. He told me the same, but as I told you, he doesn't view me kindly. So I doubt he was being truthful. Probably only cares for a clean sheet for his and the ship's record. Perce shrugs and takes a seat on the bench opposite you, checking the mug left on the table for any remaining drink. Finding none, he simply rests his arms on the table. Same thing, isn't it? But I wasn't joking when I mentioned you might try to sway him with a little liquid encouragement. You wouldn't be the first, won't be the last. Summoning at least a little strength, you push yourself up from your slumped position and sit upright. Maybe it is worth trying? Might be your only opportunity to salvage the situation, and improve your chances of keeping your place on the ship. And you mentioned you had some I could use? He raises his paw, halting you at the end of your sentence. Alright, a blowjob for a bottle of rum. We can do that. Sure do, but remember, nothing in life comes free. So, I'd be right back where I started. Instead of lacking a bottle of rum, I'd be lacking the means to pay you. Unless you fancy the promise of bags of potatoes and wheat once my hometown is our next port of call once again. That, I can provide. The corners of his mouth twitched down in a frown. No, I get enough of that here. I'd gladly accept your pay to cover it. Perhaps some good clothes, jewelry, and musical instruments. Anything you could decoy at the next harbor. Based on your attire, you seem well off enough to own something worth trading. Hardly. My family are farmers. Farmers? Don't look like the clothes of a farmer's boy. Sunday's best, Perce. On a ship. I wanted to make a good first impression. On a ship? He stares at you, dumbfounded, and you respond with a nonchalant shrug. Oh boy. Ah, well, if you want to make use of these before they inevitably get ruined, I'll happily take them off your hands. Now it's your turn to look at him, similarly surprised, and lift up the collar of your white shirt. These? He nods. I didn't bring much with me, to be honest. I don't know if I can spare these. The frown returns to his face as negotiations between you two drag on. Either way, you have time to think of something. Just let me know if you come across anything that might be worth it. He rises from the bench and makes his way to the other side of the deck. You're left with your own thoughts once again and a decision on how to proceed. Arthur wants you off the ship in Morocco. Is it really worth the effort to try and convince him otherwise? I can't... This is an interesting choice, though. Is this basically just giving up? Okay. 3 days are enough to convince him. You always have the option of the bribe. Yep. The morning in the galley is a sullen one, with every member of the crew wearing the signs of the earlier rush now that things have calmed down and the adrenaline left their bodies. For you, though, there isn't a shred of weariness that remains. Oh, the different body realizes that it can't allow you to be tired for the next few days. Not if you want to actually stay on the ship. And perhaps it's the guilt that is your own greatest enemy to slumber, knowing that this was all your fault. Every so often, there's a large, ominous boom. From where and what the ship you lack the knowledge, never mind experience to tell. But it's actually followed by the wet splash and trickle of water, which for the first couple of days made you fear the ship was about to go under. You push yourself through the ship from one steadying beam to the next, passing a few hammocks and almost falling over a wayward box that slides across the ground. The air in the galley feels thick and tense, filled with the sour scent of their resentment. Word must be getting around. Few make even as much eye contact with you, preferring to drift around you like flotsam and jetsam. Can't have flotsam without jetsam. Their seemingly effortless avoidance is in fact terribly deliberate, a practice undoubtedly well owned for such a cramped vessel, a practical defense that stops anything boiling over. But by the fourth or fifth deep breath, the silence towards you becomes sickening. Can't they just shout at you? Beat you even? Just do something to get over it. Anything other than bury their anger and let it smolder. Oh man, that's so good. So good. So good. Okay. Even Nomax barely talks, though you could only imagine that the reason he isn't doubled over emptying his stomach is that there's nothing left in there to begin with. That feeling is coiling underneath your tongue, goading you to be the first to say something, but as tempting as the thought is, you hold your tongue. They are right to treat you this way, after all. Still, it's hard. Thoughts of home are tugging at every sluggish heartbeat. The cool, sweet spring breeze, the warble of songbirds, the smell of freshly cut hay, and the long summer days scything the wheat. Taking a bath in the clear stream behind the mill while watching the sunset. You've given up for this. The lump in your throat stubbornly remains as you sit down at the table. Perhaps you had a mistake long before what happened today. It's an inescapable feeling, and one that both breakfast and the unceasingly cheery air of its creator fails to alleviate. Come, cheer up! A bowl thuds down on the table in front of you, followed by the usual cheerful demeanor of Bandil. Even a storm doesn't dampen his spirits, but perhaps a storm does dampen his creativity. Dog's body again? Excuse you, dog's body. With molasses. And I added some ship's biscuits as well, but I doubt you'll go crazy over those, so I won't mention it. I know this is not my best, but I promise when we make port the next couple of days, I'll be about to wow you with all the delightful spices the bazaars can offer. Regia here already told me that she'll show me the best market in the city. The hare's velvet nose quivers in excitement. You know I'm getting kicked off at the next port, right? The hare huffs and bats you with the paw. Poppycock! As if! Well, just take my word for it. You shrug, trying to do your best to hold back your sour mood. Sure, you'd spoiled the feelings of the rest of the crews, but at least Bandil hadn't turned on you. I'm the reason the ship got caught in the storm. What? You conjured it up all by yourself! He points to the planks above. Given Bandil's usual playful demeanor, it's hard to tell whether he's joking with you or not. Perhaps that's the point. Ooh, excuse me. I didn't realize we had a wizard on board. My man, storms happen. I fell asleep on the weather watch. Oh, I did hear about that now that you come to mention it. The hare nods, stroking his chin. Oh, it's just a little seawater. Ships get in storms all the time. You'd think sailors were allergic to getting wet with how often we moan about it. I wouldn't let it get to you. It's not about the crew in general, but Arthur. You poke at the dull lump squatting in your bowl, half hoping that it might taste miraculous despite appearances. You could do with some proof that such things are possible, after all. Is that so? Yes, he's the one who just wants me out of his sight as fast as possible. You speak through a sigh, half from homesickness and half from forlorn thoughts of home. How naive you were. Well, will you just roll over and accept it? Bandil shifts, straightening his back. That wasn't my plan, no. You mutter as you chew your mouth full. Then what's the plan? Well, try something, I guess. I've yet to figure out what exactly, but I guess anything that raises my status in the perception of Arthur will do. It's more frustration that's dragging me down, Bandil. Frustration that I even have to deal with this in the first place. Good. I think the starry-eyed stray, all adventures on the ocean in his eyes that I met that first night is still present. I'm not so sure about that. Feels like that urge for adventure is only hanging on by a thread. You must have had your fair share of them, Bandil. Disappointment was only second to the bitterness that lingered in your mouth. It made the food taste even worse. This would have worked out fine if it wasn't for Arthur. Bandil scoots closer, taking advantage of the lull between watches to join you on the opposite bench. As close, you can spot a few familiar faces begin to trickle in, but judging from the food on display, they're in no rush for Bandil to finish with you. Oh, of course. I may not be up on the deck or clambering up the sails with the sea breeze coursing through my fur, but I've met plenty of people in my travels. You don't strike me as someone that quits on their dreams. If you did, you wouldn't have set foot on the ship in the first place for the reasons you did. You talk like you've seen a lot of the world. You temper your tone, hoping your questions don't come off as rude or condescending. It's just hard to imagine, given you've only ever seen the hair busy in the kitchen below deck. Food's one of the world's great uniters, James. It brings the world to you, and you to the world. Bandil leans forward and holds his head in his paws, a dreamy expression flickering over his eyes. How else could a cook like me come to be so far from home? Perhaps my dreams aren't particularly grand, but it's fascinating to discover the world as a cook. Sometimes you just got to push through, despite what the rest of the world tells you. You'd make a fine sailor for sure. No offense, but I don't think you're the best to advise when it comes to sailing. You don't want to sound ungrateful for his company, but there's a fine line between hope and senseless optimism, and you don't really want to discover the cheery hair on the latter. Of course not, but it's in the spirit I give such advice. Before you can say anything more, Samuel walks over and sits down by your side, having been served as ration by another member of the galley with Regia in tow. If the maned wolf acknowledges your presence with a terse huff, the usual scent of their fur smelling heavily saltwater. Look who it is, Raj. You don't look as well rested as you should. What gives? Funny. I assume you know, then? Of course, it's not going to stay a secret for long on a ship. Someone always sees or hears it from somewhere. Regia shuffles onto the table, followed by Nomax not long after. They all seem more or less devoting their energy to attacking their food, but eventually Samuel picks up on your half-hearted chewing. If you're not going to finish that, I'll have it. Tough morning, topside. Sam just looks at him for a moment or two. How do I look like? Like someone who had a tough morning. Samuel shrugs and rolls his eyes. Ugh. God, that cinnamon toast coffee is incredible. Didn't see the end of it. It must have been at least several leagues wide and kept shifting on us, so there was no avoiding it, really. When that fails to bring a flash of relief across your face, Samuel nudges you with his elbow. You're supposed to smile at that. I'm not feeling it. Don't tell me you're feeling seasick like the dog over there. No. Nomax perks up as he hears himself mentioned. I'm fine. Ish. Only a little bit queasy. He's staying close to the center of the ship on Doctor's orders. You sigh. I'm just not really feeling it. An army marches on its stomach. Same principle for a ship at sea. The hare grins, giving your bowl an encouraging nudge. It's not pretty food, but I tell you, it gives you the energy you need to keep going, even during the rough seas. Maybe a little sugar or cinnamon even would help make it slide down easier. Samuel chews away, working through the mush of peas with evident practice. Yeah, well, you better become one of the gentlemen if you want either of those over molasses. I can do my best, but I can't work miracles. Maybe I'll find some in port. The mood goes quiet as they skirt around the obvious, tempering any signs of excitement the two of them might have had about port. It still comes across, however. Hopefully we'll get a decent budget to purchase supplies at this time. The hare shrugs. Yeah, I doubt our smartly dressed friend over there is overly thrilled. You probably should go to see him. Is he eating with you today? Not with the gentleman. Yes, I prefer to stay here, rather than go to their cabin in the back. The hare nods, shooting off to tend to him and prepare Nomax a ration of the crew's breakfast. I hope you don't mind the simpler fare. It'll fill you up either way, though. I will happily take it over expelling what I eat into a bucket. Alright, y'all, I'm gonna pause it right there. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout-out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank y'all for what I do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silverman. Thank you for going above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Thanks to our 3 gold tier patrons, Zeke, Toby, and Blue Wolf Alpha. Y'all are awesome. We love you. Thank you for subbing to Ultimate Tier. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our unsafe for work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.